We're going to learn and talk all about kidneys and kidney health today. So, for me, when we kicked off our National Kidney Awareness Month, we put out a question, as part of our research program to our community. And we asked, how much do you know about your kidney health or monitoring your kidney health in general? So just asking the community, trying to get a pulse on, all of us overall knowledge. And I think what's fascinating and interesting is, we had a scale from 1 to 3. 1, kind of knowing nothing, to almost, 0. And then 3 is kind of knowing a lot. And majority of the participants, they select 1, which I think is fair, because I think we don't hear a lot about kidney health. And so I want to ask you, why do you think kidney health is so important, especially in sickle cell?
Yeah, and I'm not, this is a great question, and I'm not surprised that, people will not be aware about the importance of sickle cell trait, for example, in the kidney, since a lot of physicians and clinicians overall, also, we don't know about that either. When I was in medical school, and the vast majority of us, in medical school, we were essentially taught that, for example, sickle cell trait is completely benign. Mm-hmm. And, there is some truth to it, in the sense that a lot of people with sickle cell trait will live long and absolutely healthy lives. But at the same time, it's not exactly true that it's completely benign. And that's what we are learning right now. We have, for example, the connection with RMC that we will be describing throughout this podcast. But at the same time, in addition to, let's say, RMC, there are other complications that might happen if you have sickle cell trait. And the people who have it or may have it need to know about them, so that they can protect themselves, so that they can diagnose things early, so that they can better take care of their health. Mm-hmm. So, for example, in the US, for example, 1 in every 14 African Americans carry the sickle cell trait. That's a large number. There's 3 million people in the US who carry the trait. But there's also 300 million people in the world with the trait. Think about it, 300 million people. That's a huge number. It's something, that we really need to think about that. What happens is that the vast majority of these individuals are, let's say, in Africa. And that's why, there hasn't been as much research happening, but it's real. It's a big population. And one of the things that, for example, we need to be aware of is that sickle cell trait can affect the kidney. And even that was the one-liner that we were taught in medical school, that it can affect the kidney. It can affect the way your kidney can concentrate urine, but that was about it. It wasn't that we were taught that you need to stay well hydrated, that you need not to overexert yourself, and all of these things that we understand now on how to better take care of ourselves when we have sickle cell trait.
Yeah. And again, to your point, when we, I always say, even for sickle cell in general, when we start to look at the numbers of people who are actually typically affected, right? For me, the numbers keep getting updated all the time. But if you even expand it from a global perspective, it's much, much even bigger. And, if we get closer and look closer into the lens for sickle cell trait, it's far, far even bigger. And I think, again, that's why it's important that when we start talking about sickle cell, we include information and education about sickle cell trait. One of the things I'm big into is, most of the time in research, we're kind of playing catch up, especially, with sickle cell and all these different complications we find out. But I think one good thing is, for now, if we can learn about sickle cell trait, all these complications early, the better we are off with that. I want to follow up and ask you, like you talked about, and like even I mentioned, we're doing a lot of education about kidney health, of course, because it's March and Kidney Awareness Month. But I want to know, why do you think that we don't hear a lot about renal medullary carcinoma? When we think about sickle cell trait, or when we think about kidney cancers in general, why don't we hear that much or very often, even in the medical community too?
That's a great question. And, the one thing about RMC, renal medullary carcinoma, is it is a rare cancer. So if, for example, you have, from our understanding, and this understanding is keep getting updated, but with the current numbers, if you have sickle cell trait, only 1 in every 20,000 people will develop this cancer. So it's a rare cancer. But the other reason why it is invisible in such a large extent, is that it does afflict a very vulnerable population, a minority. And it's a minority that has been invisible in our society. Let's be honest about this. And in that same way, the diseases afflicting that minority are also less visible in our society. So there are structural challenges that we need to overcome, and it is our job to raise awareness and conduct research and help out to mitigate this and solve this.